Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Matt Tebow with Stack, and today I am joined by the head coach of the victor of a 45-minute slobber knocker, Peter Dunn for Evil Geniuses. How are you doing, man?
Hello, Matt. Great to talk to you again. I mean, it's been a few weeks for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, you know what I'm going to ask you. Talk to me about that 45-minute slobber knocker, everything. How'd that go? How'd you feel
Oh,
watching that?
I mean, what I'll say is, obviously, looking at the team comps today, we drafted a team comp where if we make no mistakes, we're going to win the game. But if we make mistakes, it's going to be very, very hard. We had a really, really good early game, but we made those couple of mistakes, and I think the team kind of found a way to win despite the hard circumstances from the game. It should have been a really hard game to win at 30 minutes, even with the lead we had. But they were able to pull it out, and I'm really, really pleased with the performance. We still have to iron out the mistakes, but teething issues. That's all I
hmm
was.
I think the biggest points of contention in the game were points where you were fighting over objectives, whether it be for Soul or over Baron, or specifically those last couple Elder Dragon fights. How do you feel about Evil Genius's play around objectives in general?
So actually, I think this is one of the big areas that we're working on in scrims. Definitely in the lock-in tournament, we had a few rough objectives where we would start an objective and allow the enemy team to chase us off. But this is something we've been working really, really hard on in scrims. And it kind of showed today. Jose Diodo had a couple of situations where he just dived through our entire team to try to get to an objective, which maybe caught us a little bit off guard. I think he caught his own team off guard once or twice. But definitely, it's something we're working on and we're still improving. But I'm glad with how it went today. So they got the objectives, but we managed to win the fights afterwards, which was
Of
what.
course. And also, this is one of the first games, if not the first game, that you've been able to be with the team for, right? Since coming to the United States.
Yeah, I'm just recently out of quarantine a couple of days ago. It's been really great to be there. Really great to be behind the guys and not quite on stage. Really looking forward to being able to go on stage. Fingers crossed later on this year.
Oh, man, you and me both.
But definitely when you're remote, it's hard. It's really really hard. But to be there when you can have an impact in Pickman has been it's been great today.
hmm What was it like to travel from the UK to the US? Because I know there's COVID restrictions all over Europe, but I'm sure Brexit has made things difficult as well.
Oh yeah, it's made it extremely difficult. I mean, to be honest, there must have been 15 people on my plane. I had, multiple rows to myself. And it's been because obviously the new strains of COVID have made it very difficult to travel, and I feel I spent most of the last 2 weeks being tested. I think I've been tested 4 times in the last 14 days. So yeah, so it was a rough trip here. Quarantine was like hard quarantine on arrival was also rough, but now things are getting back to normal. I'm looking forward to it.
Of
That's what.
course. What is hard quarantine like for people that haven't gone through it?
Um, well, this was the third time I've actually gone through it, so so it wasn't actually too bad this time. The first time was at Worlds in China. That time was
Mm,
really really rough. The first time. But for those kind of situations, I think what I learned is you have to keep yourself active. You have to make sure that you separate your work time and your kind of play time, and just keep yourself mentally active all the time and physically active. So this time it wasn't too bad, but obviously it's nice to go outside and be able to breathe the fresh air,
hmm
as fresh as it gets in the middle of Santa Monica.
Yeah, pointing to another area of long-standing issues, I think. Yeah, and talk to me about 11.4. 11.4 just came out. Nerfs Jungle XP and Jungle Champions that have played. I'm sure the tier lists are starting to get thrown around there. Has 11.4 changed the way you want to see Evil Geniuses play the split?
Um, so it's changed a little bit about what we're thinking about jungle and support. Because obviously any jungle changes has knock-on effects to the rest of the map, and it really affects mid and support the most. I mean, top and AD carry aren't really impacted so much by jungle meta nerfs, but when you have patches that change this like this, it has a fundamental knock-on effect to the mid jungle 2v2 and the jungle support 2v2. In terms of what Dennis Svenskeren will be playing, I think we'll see some of the champions we had before, but definitely he's got one or two more uh, picks that we may be playing tomorrow or the day after.
Dude,
against Cloud9.
spoil him.
we've definitely got some cheese prepared against Cloud9. I mean, it's always when you are so obviously FlyQuest and Cloud9 are and Immortals are the three teams which are coached by European coaches. Vega V2 on Cloud9, Gilotto on Immortals, and obviously today Kanani for FlyQuest. So there's always a little bit of rivalry in those games. We always make sure that we have a little bit of spice. Today, obviously, you saw the Nico. We've got one or two things for tomorrow. I won't go into too many details, but I'm sure the viewers will be looking forward to it.
That sounds exciting. I think I'll make note of that. On top of, speaking of Svenskaren's pick, Olaf is back. Two games of Olaf already. 2 or 3 games, excuse me. And it looks like that Angry Viking dude is just not going to slow down even with these nerfs. Do you think Olaf's position has gotten even better since he's such a power farmer? Or do you think he's stayed the same or gotten nerfed at all?
He's gotten better, but ironically, for solo queue, he's at his best when your like top laner dies 1v1 and you can go and take all the farm. The big changes to the jungle has meant that lane EXP for a jungler. So if they go into your lane and help you push out, or you die 1v1 and they get to pick up the 2 waves underneath the tower, that situation used to kind of be a disaster before, because you weren't farming camps. But now the benefit for getting, like, if Olaf gets an extra wave or 2 waves somewhere, he can just snowball the entire game, almost 1v9. And we definitely look for opportunities. Didn't have any opportunities today, mainly taking enemy jungle camps. But the benefit of taking enemy jungle camps, so Olaf, the big thing that Olaf really benefited from was being able to deny enemy jungle his jungle camps. And the changes to this patch has meant that it's more valuable to deny laners their CS, especially if you're getting some of it, versus denying jungle camps off the enemy jungle. Because the value of lane CS is so different versus jungle. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take his camps if you can, but if you have the choice between denying a wave versus denying a camp, in the past it used to be worth denying a camp, but now it's more up in the air. So it's a very interesting time. So we'll see how that impacts.
Yeah, interesting indeed. I guess so. I think that'll be something people are going to be looking out for. Have teams been like scrimming with that mindset in mind? Have you seen a lot of people focusing more on that as opposed to it? Or is it just something that people are getting used to?
I think in scrims, in EG scrims, there's been a lot of limit testing. So we'll... some lessons have been learned. I'm not sure that specific lesson has been learned or tested. But we'll have to see how things develop. It's strange that Riot have decided to do such a big fundamental patch in the middle of a season, because they've been kind of shying away from this. Normally they'll make a big patch in the middle of the kind of between the 2 splits. But clearly they felt that it was important enough to make a major change, and teams are adapting. We'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed we don't get any funnel, because if you go too far in one direction, funnel comes back. So fingers crossed.
No.
But it'll be really interesting to see how things go.
Yeah, Yumi, Tarek, 3 man just running around.
Yep.
So fun.
Yep.
Speaking of changes, we've seen a lot of teams pick up completely new rosters. A lot of teams pick up a lot of new people and just try out new things. Which team at the halfway mark of the spring split has surprised you the most?
Dignitas for sure. I mean, so my role in EG is obviously head coach, but I do a lot of spot coaching as well. And my main position for spot coaching is bot lane and mid lane. And definitely, I think that perks aside, there's been more interesting things to watch from Soligo than maybe some of the other mid laners in LCS. I've been definitely very, very impressed with Soligo. I think there's things he does in the lane that other teams don't do. And when I've been showing clips to Drizuke, it's mainly been from those 2 rather than other mids in the league. And I think based on their mid jungle, they've been able to control a lot of the game, and they've been very, very impressive. Will they keep it up? Who knows? I mean, teams are adapting. We're certainly adapting. I think we play them next week. So we'll have a shift in our playstyle. But definitely they're not a team to be slept on.
What makes Dig's mid jungle so good?
Soligo, without going into too much detail on this, Soligo, the way that Soligo plays the lane is very, very smart. He's been a player that has always had a very good early game, but has had kind of flaws in his mid to late game, without going into too many details. But he has improved on the things that have made him strong, and maybe hasn't thrown as much as maybe he has in the past. That's kind of held him back.
Mhm.
So definitely they could have been interesting. Obviously, Cloud9. Cloud9's the easy answer. I mean, Cloud9 are playing fantastically as a team. Individually, maybe their performances haven't. Every single player hasn't been playing 10 out of 10 in every game, but you don't need that. You only need one or two players. And definitely, we of the teams in LCS, I think we study them the most. With Dignitas kind of a distant second, and then a gap to everyone else.
Interesting. All right. Well, everyone, that's Evil Genius's head coach, Peter Dunn. I'm Matt Table with Stacked. You can find us online at stacked.gg, and you can follow us on our socials at StackedLOL. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that sub button. It really helps us out a lot and helps that small channel grow. Once again, man, thanks for taking the time to talk, and good luck through the rest of the weekend.
Thank you, Matt. And it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Of course.